So when I was at my final year of IIM Udaipur and the placements were just about to start. Now, although I had a few job offers from off campus because of all the things I was up to on super heuristics, I still applied at a few organizations because I wanted to see that what if I can get something much more bigger and more exciting than what I was being offered. Out of all the organizations which had come, I had applied for say some 6 or 7 organizations, and one of them was a bank which actually came in with a finance profile, and it was very unlikely for a B school like IIM Udaipur back in the day to get core finance profiles, especially from a bank. But then it was exciting, and I knew that okay, I did not have anything to do with finance for sure. However, just because the package was so amazing, it was so huge, and I will frankly admit it that it was only because of the package and the brand obviously that I had applied for it, and I was like, "ठीक है, we'll see. If it happens, it happens. Otherwise, I have my options with me already, and they are from the field which I want to be in, which is marketing and edtech." Now, what I'm about to say is something which is going to shock you, but then that's the point. That I had applied, I had got not one thing to do with finance. My entire CV had not got one thing to do with finance. I had applied for this company. I had applied for this bank which had a finance role. Along with me, a lot of my friends who were CFAs, who had actually worked hard, studied so hard, clearing those expensive and very tough CFA exams. They were CFAs. The company had shortlisted 10 students. And out of those 10 students, would you believe it, that there was not even one CFA, and there was hardly, I think, 1 or 2 of them who were really the finance oriented people. Believe you me that this was a finance profile. There was no way that they could have been scouting for a sales or marketing sort of person. And the most of the students, 6 or 7 of the students which they had shortlisted, they were sales and marketing oriented students, or they were those students who were not really inclined towards any one specific field. The moral of the story is any crazy shit can happen, any crazy thing can happen. Somebody who's a CFA would have been devastated by it because that was a beautiful profile which had come. And this video is about that how placement is not something which you should depend on. Placement at a B school is a good thing to have, it is a good thing to aim for, but if it is the only thing which you have, and if it's the only thing which you aim for, you are set to be on a journey which is going to be full of disappointment and dissatisfaction. Hi, I am Darpan Saxena, an MBA graduate from IIM Udaipur, and let's get on with the video. So I shared with you an example that how something so strange like this happened, that a company came in which was a finance company. It was a bank. It had a finance role, but it did not shortlist any of those CFAs who were supposed to get shortlisted. And just when you thought that okay, probably it is just one-off example, it's not the case. You see these things happening so often that for a lot of good roles, somebody which you would thought, or somebody who thought that okay, he had the skills, he had worked for that job role, he had worked for that organization, he or she would not even get shortlisted in that, because shortlisting is that erratic. And it is for that reason why I want to tell you things which probably no one else is speaking to you about, that placements at a B school are not something which you should focus on entirely. Yes, it's a good thing to have, but if that's your only focus, it's gonna be a problem for you. And I'll explain this to you with 3 points, with 3 reasons why there is a problem in you. Like, I would not even mince my words. I would actually say that why there's a problem with you if your only focus is placements. So here are my 3 reasons for it, and I hope that this would open up the world of new opportunities in your head, and you would try to do things which will get you much larger outcomes than the MBA. Now, if you're excited to watch this, I would want that if you could go ahead and hit the like button. It will tell the YouTube algorithm, and it will tell me that you like to watch these kind of videos, and I'll keep on creating more such content for you. So the first reason why placements are not the best outcomes which you can get from your MBA, and why you should be thinking beyond them, is that there are too many variables involved in you getting that placement which you want, and you getting that placement which you want is not even in your hands because there are so many variables. Now, what do I mean to say? Just understand this, okay? You could be at a B school where you had not imagined that you'd be there. So you had probably imagined that, okay, I'd be at that great XYZ B school, but then you eventually ended up to be at another B school which was not your first choice to begin with. Now further on top of that, what is the economic condition? What is the economic scenario of the country? It's also beyond you, because it could be that the job market is so slowed down that there are effectively not a lot of jobs out there, and obviously a lot of firms would then hold back on the recruitments. Further, you have no idea and you have no control over the fact that which organizations will come to recruit from your B school. Now further, even if you were to know that, okay, which organizations are going to come, you would have no control over how many students they plan to recruit, because each organization, when they come into your B school, they have a plan that, okay, we can hire only 3 people or 4 people or 8 people from here. There are proper budgets around it. Hence, even that thing is not on your control. And even further, even if you knew all of that, the last thing is that the shortlisting, whether that company will even shortlist you or not, even that is not in your control. So if you zoom out and see, there are so many variables involved that firstly, it could be that you are not at the B school which you wanted to be in. Secondly, the economic circumstances are not in your hands. Thirdly, which companies will come to your B school for that year is not in your hands. Even if that were in your hand, then how many students would they hire is not in your hands, and whether they would even shortlist you is not in your hands. So many variables. Now, can you imagine? Would you make your only goal in life something which is so uncertain, which is absolutely not in your hands? I mean, you could prepare for CFA, for example, like I had shared in my first example. You could prepare for CFA the entire 2 years of your MBA, and you can completely isolate yourself from everyone else. And at the end of the day, it can happen like this, that you would not even get shortlisted by a company which you wanted to work for, because of which you had done so much of hard work. Therefore, that is the simplest thing for you to understand, that when there are so many variables involved and when it is so much out of your hands, that can never be your only goal. And that is the problem which I see with a lot of MBA students, that such nice, bright, intelligent MBA students, they get to the best of the B schools and they feel, they experience so much anxiety, so much stress, for the only reason that because their only aim, the only thing they can think about is that brand which is going to come for placement, or this great brand which I've always dreamt of working for, so on and so forth. It creates anxiety. It creates unnecessary anxiety. It creates anxiety and stress, which is actually born out of your own lack of foresight. So the problem is with you. This first point should remind you that that cannot be your goal, something which has so many variables involved, which is not in your control. From there, I will take you to the second point. And the second point is that placements tend to become zero-sum game. Now, what exactly is a zero-sum game? A zero-sum game is a game wherein your victory is a loss for me and for everyone else. Now, while placements are not supposed to be like that, but the kind of focus that everyone has, that every student has on the placements, and the kind of hopes and dreams that everyone has on a certain organization, it becomes a zero-sum game in our heads. And then at the end of it, you would feel that yes, it was truly a zero-sum game. For example, if there was a dream organization of yours, or for example, if there was a dream job role of yours, and that organization comes in and says that, okay, we will hire only 8 students, or for example, they had planned to hire only 8 students. Now, those 8 students who wanted to be in that organization, who had created all their stress, anxiety and everything around that organization, they were able to make it. And hence, in your head and in their head, they have won. But now the problem is that just because of the way we think about placements, now in our heads, we and everyone else has lost. Those who have not been able to make it to that organization, those who wanted to be at that organization, for them, they have become losers. And hence, placements become a zero-sum game. Placements ought to become a zero-sum game because of this mindset which we have. Therefore, again, answer this thing, that would you want to focus on something? Would you want to have all your aspirations and dream hinged on something which is a zero-sum game, which eventually turns out to become a zero-sum game, and it becomes really toxic and unhealthy. It's not about competing. It's about being plain and simple foolish, that your entire focus is on one thing, whereas you can have a world of opportunities beyond that, about which I will be speaking in my third point. And the third point is something which will actually hurt you to an extent, because if you are someone who is always focused on the placements, this point is going to piss you off. But then that is the objective. The third point is that the problem is you. The problem is your own stupidity. The problem is your own lack of foresight, that beyond the placements, you have such opportunities for which you need to just work hard, and you'll create outcomes which are much larger, much satisfactory than what your placements can have. So what exactly are the other outcomes which you can have beyond your placements? The other outcomes are off-campus placements. You can go ahead and become self-employed. You can live a freedom lifestyle. And the third thing is that probably if you have an idea, if you have some experience, and if you have the drive, you can go ahead and work on your startup of your own. Now, obviously, all of these things are not as easy as they sound. Obviously, you would be saying to me right now that what are you talking about? Do you think that all of these things are so easy that, okay, I'll just say that, okay, I'll not focus on placements and I'll work on these three things and they'll just happen? No, they'll not just happen. But if you work towards them, they will happen. Just the way they happened for me. So I am an example of this, and that is why I'm trying to share it with you, which probably no one else is sharing, that there are opportunities and chances beyond the placements which can create such great outcomes for you. But the reason why we don't focus on them is because there is a lack of confidence which we have within ourselves. And it is strange, because if you are an MBA student, if you are at a good B school, you have lived your life, you would have probably worked, you would have probably created a lot of connections up till now, or just by the fact that you are at a good business school, you can create a lot of connections now, and through that, you can create so many opportunities for yourself that placement will become just another option for you to get the outcomes which you want. I'll give you a very small example. So when I was in my first year, I started my blog, Super Heuristics. I worked on it. I grew my knowledge and skills by working on that blog, and that blog helped me get a lot of consulting and freelancing assignments, and from there I could get a lot of job opportunities. Right now, what I do is very simple. I work on Super Heuristics full time, I live a freedom lifestyle, and I work on a few consulting assignments on the side. I am able to choose the work which I want to do. I am able to choose the hours on which I want to do my work, and I am able to enjoy the work because this is what I like to do. Hence, if you're somebody who's stuck in that stereotype that the only outcome you can get from your MBA are placements, then for sure you would end up in a circumstance that you've got the placements in your mind, you've achieved it because for you the outcome was placements, and then you realize after 1 or 2 years of your job that you're stuck and you have nowhere to go because you had no other aim, and the only aim you had was placements, and you had it, and after which now you don't even know how to switch because you have not focused on the skills, because you probably have not focused on the knowledge which you could have accumulated, and all you have focused on is the placements. Hence, stop becoming a roadblock for yourself. While placements are good, placements are very important, and frankly I'd say that yes, placements have to be one of the objectives which you would have from your MBA, but do not let it be the only objective, because then that is going to completely alter the way you work, that is going to completely alter the way you learn, and that will significantly impact the outcomes which you can have. Look beyond. Look at the various other opportunities which you have, learn how to get them. You could probably go ahead for my free course called 5 Steps Ahead Blueprint, in which I share with my students that what are these ways in which they can get these alternate opportunities, these additional opportunities of outcomes from their MBA, and how you can maximize the outcomes which you can get from your MBA. Now, if you've understood this, I don't expect everyone to even understand this, but if you've understood this, you've got to go down and comment that what do you feel about it and what is it that you're planning to do about it, apart from obviously enrolling for my free course 5 Steps Ahead Blueprint. Again, if you liked the thought, hit the like button so that the YouTube algorithm knows that you like this content, and I will see you again in my next video, in which I'll share with you some more ideas and thoughts in which you can get the best career outcomes from MBA. Thank you and goodbye.